Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Clements, and I'm the Children's Director here at Ponte Vedra United Methodist Church. Thank you for joining us for our Child and Youth Protection Training Program. The rest of the video is going to be a PowerPoint presentation, and I will be speaking along with it, but I might skim over a few of the points. So if at any point I'm going too fast for you, or if you want to pause the video and read the slide in its entirety, by all means go ahead. Like I said, it's a video, so just hit the pause button and then pick right back up whenever you're ready. Okay, let's get started. Well, let's start with why we have a policy. Well, we have a policy because we are called to engage with children and youth. We would like to give them a positive and loving classroom environment while maintaining appropriate boundaries. And we need to continue answering the gospel's imperative to be in ministry with children, thus making a difference in their lives. So let's start with some basic definitions and requirements. A child, for the purposes of this policy, is anyone younger than 12. A youth is anyone that is 12 years of age, but not yet 18, or is still in high school. So if you turn 19 your senior year of high school, the church still considers you a youth. An adult is anyone 18 or older and has finished high school. A paid staff person is anyone employed by the church, including clergy. An adult volunteer is any adult not paid by the church who volunteers with the church. And a screened adult is a volunteer or paid staff person who has undergone the church screening process. So who needs screening? All clergy, appointed or otherwise. All paid staff persons. Adult volunteers whose service regularly takes them throughout the church facility or grounds. So even if you are not volunteering directly with the youth, if your volunteer service takes you into various rooms and spaces in the church, you need to sit for this training. Any person with a church key. Adult volunteers who supervise or assist with children or youth more than 3 times a year. Adult volunteers who transport children or youth more than 3 times a year, or adult volunteers who assist in the nursery more than 4 times a year. So what exactly is the screening process? Well, it starts with a yearly youth protection training, which you're participating in right now, so thank you very much. Every 3 years, we need an updated background check. Adults do not have to be members at the church to participate and volunteer with the children, but they must be regular attendees, and they must be active in the church for at least 6 months. First-time volunteers need to fill out an application and be interviewed by the lead staff person of that ministry. Volunteers who transport children or youth must undergo a motor vehicle records check. And just to ease everyone's mind, all background checks and applications are locked away in a file drawer with minimal access. Okay, so now you're a volunteer. So let's talk about some general rules. A big one to remember is the one window rule. Each room must have a door or a wall that has a window, a half door, or an open door. Basically, there has to be a line of sight access to the room. So if I'm walking by in the hallway, I can see in and see the children. The 2 adult rule. 2 non-related adults must be present at all non-classroom programs. So spouses don't count. Brothers and sisters don't count. Non-related adults must be present at all programs, and one of those adults must be a screened adult. The 3-year rule. All screened adults must be 3 years older than the group they are supervising. So for instance, I could not allow a recent high school graduate, say a 19-year-old, to supervise the High Tide youth group because there's just not enough of an age gap there. All right, so classroom rules. So it varies a little bit from age to age, but it's pretty similar. So let's just go over some of the basics. From crib or toddler age to 2nd grade, you must have 2 non-related adults. If you cannot have 2 non-related adults, the door must remain open and a floater will have to walk by and periodically check on the room. For grades 3 to 5, 1 adult is permissible, but 2 is preferred. Again, if you don't have 2, leave a door open and a floating adult can check periodically. For grades 6 through 12, you must have 1 screened adult. Again, a floating adult is going to do a periodic check. But what if you're not in the classroom? There's lots of different things we do where we are not necessarily in the Kingdom Kids scenario or the youth group scenario. So for non-classroom activities, again, 2 unrelated screened adults must be present for all non-classroom activities. You obviously need to get permission from the parent or guardian prior to the activity. If the child or the youth is participating in a mentoring program, All mentoring activities should be in a group setting, including 2 adults. So you can't have a single mentor going off with a single mentee. No gifts to mentees. No gifts to the child or the youth without the knowledge of the parent or the guardian. Mentors can communicate one-on-one, but they have to have permission from the parent or guardian, and the form of communication must be approved. If a youth or a child needs counseling, you have to have at least one screened adult and the knowledge of a paid staff member. If you're meeting at the church, the room door is to remain open during the entire counseling session, unless the glass in the door or the wall provides a clearer view of the room. Okay, so for trips and retreats, again, 2 unrelated screened adults must be present. The leader has to carry permission slips and emergency information at all times with him or her. The group must have access to either a landline or a cell phone. If a pool is involved or swimming of any sort, one adult must be certified in CPR. For overnight events, there must be one screened adult for each gender present. Church personnel or adult volunteers are not allowed to sleep in the same room as the child or a youth unless they are an immediate family member. However, if there's like an open space, like pavilion type thing or some sort of camp out type scenario, you can have a screened adult sleeping in the same space as the children or youth, but you must have at least 2 adults. Keep 2 children or youth per room and try to alternate with an adult room between each child-youth room. 2 adults will need to monitor the hallways, and we prefer hotels with interior rooms. For transportation, the driver must be known to the leader of the event. Solo driver must be the parent or guardian of a child or youth in the car, or a screened adult or paid staff person at least 18 years old. If the driver is not the parent or guardian of the child, there must be 2 youth present. So for instance, I, as the children's director, could not take Jay Sakaris in my car alone. It could be Jay and Luke, or Jay and Luke and my daughter Sawyer, could all be together, but not just one child. Additionally, drivers should not detour from the designated route. Drivers should not use cell phones except for required communication with other drivers. Drivers should not, capital not, text message or browse their phones while driving. However, they may use their phones before they start the car to set up a hands-free GPS. When a trip is more than 100 miles round trip, all drivers must be on the approved driver list. If more than 500 miles, a trip form must be submitted to the Ministry Protection Office. So some other things to remember. There is an open door policy. Parents, staff members, volunteers are all permitted, when reasonable, to visit and observe classrooms at any time. We are required to have a sign-in and sign-out procedure for all children up through 2nd grade. Just for ease of tracking, we do require that children have a sign-in and sign-out by an adult all the way up through 4th grade, and there is a list of approved adults to pick up each child. If you're all at a group event and it is ending, it's expected that the screened adult uses their best judgment for supervision of remaining students. Sometimes you'll have a couple of stragglers left over and most of the volunteers have left, and so now it's just one adult. Again, use your best judgment, leave a door open, try to keep the kids all in the same room, make good judgment calls. In an emergency, and only in an emergency, and with permission from the parent or guardian, can a screened adult drive a youth or child home. This might sound a little funny to say or read, but I don't want you guys to feel uncomfortable. Like if a kid comes up and hugs you, this is church, and I want us to feel comfortable showing them love and affection. So a good guideline is don't ever touch a child or youth anywhere a bathing suit would cover. Online safety, that's getting bigger and bigger every day. We're all communicating online, we're communicating virtually, so there are some basic rules for that as well. Church computers that are set up for youth should be in a public area and can be monitored by staff or adults. This one's important. Electronic communication with children or youth should be done via group emails or messaging apps. One-on-one communication is prohibited. So if you're texting a youth, include another leader, include another child, include a parent. Make sure that you're doing a group communication. Communication should stop by 10 p.m. on weeknights and 11 p.m. on weekends. Parents must be aware and give consent to electronic communication. Content on personal sites to which students have access should be kept within reasonable restrictions. So, like if you're friends with a youth on your Facebook page, post reasonable things on your Facebook page. Social media. You cannot initiate a friend request or a follow request to a youth that is not related to you. You cannot post photos of youth or children's ministry activities on your own personal social media pages. The church's social media accounts is the only one that can post these photos. And we can only do it because we have signed parental permission slips of those particular youth and children. Children, youth, and their parents can tag themselves and the child or youth, but we, church personnel, church volunteers, cannot tag a child or youth in a picture. All right, so how do you report abuse? How do you respond to allegations? I hope that we never have to do this, but if we do, let's talk about the different kinds of abuse. Physical abuse is violent, non-accidental contact which results in injury. Sexual abuse is any form of sexual activity, whether at church, home, or any setting. Emotional abuse is a pattern of intentional conduct which crushes the spirit or attacks the child or youth's self-worth. Neglect is a failure to provide for basic needs or a failure to protect for harm. In the state of Florida, we have what's called mandatory reporting. Any person who knows or has reasonable cause to suspect that a child is abused, abandoned, or neglected shall report such knowledge. If you suspect abuse, you have a moral imperative to report it. So here's a 1-800 number that you can call where you suspect abuse. And that might not be that it's someone at the church doing it. Maybe you think that there's someone in your care that is being abused where you're not seeing it. You can call and report it. Additionally, contact the senior pastor or the district superintendent if the senior pastor is not available. If a child or adult comes to you with allegations or suspicions of abuse, if you are not the staff person in charge of the area, contact and inform the staff person immediately. Then you and that staff person can make a written report and call the authorities. You will notify the pastor, and then you will follow up to make sure that something has happened. So that's it for our presentation today. I know it seems like a big, scary topic, but I appreciate all of you for giving us your time. I know the children and the youth appreciate the time that you put in, and I know that your love and attention for them helps them to flourish and grow. So thank you for attending this presentation with us today. This program would not be possible without you, so we really appreciate it. Just in closing, there is a form in the box below that you'll need to print out and return to me just to show that you have attended the program and that you are familiar with all the rules and regulations. And that's all, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you.